Hey, good morning for everyone. Thank you for letting us this opportunity. My name is Ceyhan Cigdemoglu. I am Associate Professor at School of Business at Atilim University. And this study is my student, my master student, Bilsay. He is a teacher at Ministry of Education. And based on his experiences, we have conducted this investigation in his master thesis. And in this study, the title is Between Teachers Perceived Ethical Leadership Level, about school administrators and their organization, cynicism level, and job satisfaction. We looked at the relationship between these concepts. I'm going to start with the significance and purpose of the study. I'm going to explain the definitions of the concepts and our conceptual model, then let you to know the hypothesis of this investigation. Later, we will continue with the methodological details of the study, population and sample data collections, data analysis, and finally, we will talk about the results, discussion, and conclusion of the findings. And as we know, teachers and school administrators has very important role in society, especially when school administrators are fair, they have equity in their society, and there will be a more positive work environment, and leaders' styles, their leadership style, whether they take role, teachers' opinions in the decision-making process or not, these all have impact over the of teachers and performance of both teachers and schools actually. And based on all these issues, we think that and the performance of individuals and organizations are quite dependent on the leaders at schools, the atmosphere created at schools, and whether the school administrators are fair, equal, whether they give decisions by taking ideas of their teachers. This will have impact over the respect the schools take, over the respect the teachers takes. And based on this, we think that the very perceived ethical leadership, how they perceive their leaders, and what are their opinions concerning their leaders' behaviors, will be related with their organizational cynicism level and their job satisfaction. And these concepts are explained in that way. The ethical leadership, this is explained as ability to make right decisions by taking proactive attitude across situations. When your employers, in this case, when your teachers, perceptions of the school leaders are truthful, reliable, if they are positive, if they have positive perception, it will create a cognitive trust-based perceptions to their leaders, and it will have impact their and satisfaction of their jobs. And we think that this will have a negative impact over organizational cynicism level of teachers. And when we come to cynicism, organizational, or in this case, we are considering on organizational cynicism. And organizational cynicism is a negative attitude that a person creates himself towards his current workplace. And of course, when this is the situation, we expect that negatively will have impact over the job satisfaction of teachers' performances. And job satisfaction is a positive emotion that employees or teachers feel as a result of their evaluation of their job and work life. And based on this conceptual background, we can say that ethical leadership will have impact over organizational cynicism, and this will have a mediating role in job satisfaction of teachers. as well as we think that perceived ethical leadership will have a direct impact over the job satisfaction of teachers. And these are our hypotheses. Actually, the full study has many different hypotheses concerning some demographic experience of teachers, some demographic variables. But in this study, we only provide hypotheses concerning our three main independent and dependent variables. And there is a negative relationship between perceived ethical leadership level and organizational cynicism. And we think that there is a positive relationship, of course, not just our experiences and the literature concerning these topics directs us to write this hypothesis. And we have observed in the literature there are some studies looking at direct relationship between perceived ethical leadership, organizational cynicism, and perceived ethical leadership or job satisfaction. Different studies do investigation concerning these variables, but all these three together and looking at the mediating role of the organizational cynicism over the job satisfaction is investigated in this study. And the third hypothesis is negative, where we think that there is a negative relationship between organizational cynicism level and the job satisfaction of teachers. And organizational cynicism has a mediating effect over the perceived ethical leadership level and job satisfaction. And when we come to the methodology of this study, we can say that we employed a cross-sectional survey design. And cross-sectional survey designs instantly collects data from a group of people. Actually, the data is collected at Izmir, a big city of Turkey. And perceived ethical leadership, we took this variable as an independent variable, and organizational cynicism as a mediating variable, and job satisfaction as a dependent variable. We distributed the online survey link to teachers, to the community around us, and volunteer teachers have participated in this survey. The population is Izmir distinct, but we were not, it's quite difficult to collect data from a random sample. When you don't have a random sample, that means your sample may not be representative of the population. So this is a problem for making generalization. That's why, as a limitation, we can say that adequate number of sample, 1,365 teachers enrolled in this investigation. Maybe the sampling adequacy is enough, but we have questions related with the representative of the sample. So the population, we cannot make generalization to our population, and the findings are limited to that group of people. We have to say that. And because we use convenient sampling strategy, not a random probability type of sampling. And in Karşıyaka district, we collected the data. Just this year at the semester, actually 2021 academic, we collected the data from the teachers. We administered a survey. These are some demographic information related with the participant sample. And a majority of the teachers were female teachers. And as the literature suggests, actually, for these online type of surveys, usually females are more volunteer when compared to males. And school type, kindergarten, primary, secondary, and high school level teachers. As you see, the majority is coming from the primary and secondary school level. Most full of the teachers coming from that grade level. The age range is provided here. The school administrated, whether these teachers, school administrators are female or male. As a result of the previous, previous presentation result, as you see, the school administrators are usually male, not females. Even the teachers are, majority of teachers are female, but school administrators are male. And years of experiences, majority of teachers has experiences more than 10 years. And their number of years experiences with their school administrators is usually about 5 to 10 years. This is an indication, or less than 5 years. This shows that school administrators are usually changing and teachers have limited experiences with them. And data collection process, we have utilized with already developed questionnaire scales, and perceived ethical leadership scales is already developed with international audience authors. It is translated and adapted to Turkish by Yilmaz in 2006. And we have used, because teachers' English level may be limited and we administer these surveys in Turkish language. That's why we prefer to use the adapted version to our language. And organizational cynicism is adapted to Turkish by Kalan in 2009. And satisfaction scale is adapted to Turkish by Tezer in 2001. And the scales Cromba Alpha reliability, internal consistency are provided here. Also has quite good reliability coefficients. And in analysis of data, as we said, we used first we used, and before doing the statistical analysis, we have conducted missing data analysis. We removed some empty responses. We replaced mean scores with the missing values if the number of missing is less than 5% based on opinions. And first we conducted missing data. After that, we continued with descriptive and inferential statistics with our data. We conducted some t-tests comparing some demographic variables. Even they are not provided in the full text, they will be provided for testing hypothesis. We employed multiple regression analysis using SPSS and PET analysis program with AMS. These are the results. We have 3 variables, and we check the relationship at first in order to do the multiple regression analysis. This is an assumptions with statistical analysis. First, we have to conduct the relationship among these variables in order to check multicollinearity or singularity among the variables. As you know, if the relationship is the R value relationship coefficient of the variable is smaller than 0.3, that means it's they are weakly related. When it is in 0.3 and 5, it is moderate. When it is higher than 0.1, there is a strong relationship with the variables. Yeah. The relationship among the variables, the minus shows the relationship. As we expected, perceived organizational ethical leadership is negatively related with organizational cynicism. If teachers perceive the leadership style of their administrators are positive, they are fair, they have equity, they take their permissions, ideas in decision-making process, they have lower level of organizational cynicism, and they have more job satisfaction. These are the regression analysis results. The beta coefficients, the mediating role are all tested. And as you see here, sorry for that. Okay, as you see here, perceived ethical leadership has a positive and significant impact over the satisfaction variable. In the second step, when we look at the mediating role in the third step, organizational cynicism had a negative and significant impact over the job satisfaction variable. The perceived ethical leadership has a negative and significant impact over the organizational cynicism. And perceived ethical leadership and organizational cynicism were taken together in analysis to check they have impact over the job satisfaction, and we have seen that that variable, perceived ethical leadership, did not lose its impact when you take it as a mediating variable. And we said that this impact has continued. That means organizational cynicism variable has a partial mediating effect between perceived ethical leadership and job satisfaction. And these are the results of testing of our hypothesis, actually, based on the statistical regression statistics and mediation analysis. We can state that hypothesis 1, which is stating that perceived ethical leadership has impact over organizational cynicism. This impact is, this relationship is approved. We cannot say approved of based on this population. We have enough evidence to the idea that there is a such relationship. We accept this hypothesis. And secondly, we can say that the second hypothesis is accepted as well. The relationship between perceived ethical leadership and job satisfaction exists, and it has a positive relationship. And third hypothesis stating that the negative relationship between organizational cynicism and job satisfaction. This hypothesis is again supported. And fourthly, organizational cynicism, mediating role of this variable over the perceived ethical leadership and job satisfaction based on the statistical analysis, as we have seen on previous slides. We also support that hypothesis. We have enough evidences to support that organizational cynicism has a mediating role over this variable hypothesis as well. And based on our results, we have seen that these variables has impact over each other, and especially the dual path is, as I said before, one of the contribution of this study to the literature. The dual paths were already analyzed, but the triple path is investigated in that study. This is the contribution of this study, and the results of many implications for school atmosphere, teachers' satisfaction, performances, the perceptions regarding their school administrator is quite important. Their cynicism has impact over their job satisfaction. To remove the cynicism, their leadership styles, their administrators' attitudes towards the teachers is quite important, and the school administrators are strongly suggested to be fair and to establish equity in their school atmosphere. And as we said, the limitation of the study, we cannot, for this kind of investigation, is quite different to collect data from a random population sample, randomly selecting teachers for the study. And we use convenience sampling. That means we cannot make generalization to the population, even we have enough number of samples. Representativeness, these kind of investigations may be conducted in different contexts, in different places, to compare to across multiple nations or cultures. These are some suggestions. This is all for my presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I will be answer your questions.